I guess the first one that people had issue with this was like the whole. I guess they thought it was going to be political or woke with the idea that Superman is an alien and that they're kind of addressing the whole thing going on with ISIS kind of stuff. So like, how do you guys feel about that? Like, do you think the movie was a little bit
How?
on that, or what's your guys' relationship to hearing that with the film?
How?
Like,
I don't
are you
know.
saying does it parallel current
I guess
events?
they felt like it was a parallel to current
But
events with the
like,
whole
this
ICE
is
situation.
it's just the
Completely
Superman
different.
story. It's just that's just
Yeah.
the Superman
Yeah.
story. Like, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
Yeah.
he is an immigrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Been saying, I feel like I've talked to you about this before. I'm like, yeah, dude, like Superman's an immigrant. That's why, like, in the past I would be like, oh my god, in my mind, like Superman's Mexican, but like,
Yeah, that's funny.
but I mean, it's not like I think they were more. I don't think they like kind of touched on him being an immigrant
Yeah.
so much as like, I mean, there is some xenophobia going on for sure. Like Lex doesn't trust him and doesn't like him because he's different and he's happy and has everything and he wants to take that away, for sure. And I feel like there's like a lot of people like that, and there will always be people like that. You know, I don't think
Yeah.
that's like necessarily like woke to depict that struggle or like people with that kind of
Yeah.
attitude. I think there are other things that the movie mirrors more closely, parallel with things. I think like, like war and like colonization. I think that is like a big theme that James Gunn covers between the struggle between like Moravia and not Moravia, the other country.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like, there will always be that inequality and that struggle. And I think using, like, even if it's just like closely paralleling current events, like, I think it's still like a good lens to explore like how like Superman would react in that
Yeah.
situation, because this is a modern superhero film. It's like, if you're not including that, then you're just gonna be another satire. You're just gonna be like The Boys or something.
So I feel like The Boys kind of makes fun of people who do that, but I think it's interesting because like I guess I've seen Christopher Reeves, but I don't remember correctly of was there a scene where he said I stand for truth, justice, in the American way in that movie? If I'm correct, or is that a different Superman movie?
To be fair, I am not 100% sure. It's been a long time since I've seen the Christopher Reeve movie. I don't know if he says it in that movie. I know that's like from the original comics, that Truth, Justice, and the
Okay.
American Way. Like that's from the original Superman comics. I don't know if it's directly stated in the movie from like back then, but yeah, I don't know if you guys have any other. Because was that part one of the controversies? It was like,
I guess the idea is that going along with that controversy is like, oh, I guess Superman's more anti-American, which I mean, Superman's a hero for the whole country. I mean, the whole world. So
world.
that's kind of weird. But the funny thing about that, because like, if the argument's that Superman's become more quote unquote progressive, the funny thing about that is the first Superman movie literally was about him protecting aliens, like actual aliens from the Earth, and trying to let people who I guess you consider are legal aliens, which are actual aliens, and trying to make the world see them in a better place. So it's like if the first
he
Superman
himself.
movie had yeah, so if the first Superman movie had that, how is he going against, like, if anything, he's basically saying that is the American way, if that makes any sense. So I just think it was
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I just think it was kind of a stupid criticism. But I'll get to a more
you
I think a
sound
more
like
valid
criticisms of
criticism.
people who don't know what Superman is. Like,
That's the first one. I think that was stupid, but I think this one's a valid
Yeah.
one. This is
And
something that. Oh, sorry. Do you want to continue?
well, I think like even though there's like so many like metahumans in like the USA or whatever, like all of like the DC comics, like it's international. I mean, like Diana is like from a island that's like not even on the map, and like it's just like there's so much. It's so much bigger than like any one country, and it's like all the cities that all the metahumans are from in the comics are like made up. So it's just like I don't know
Aquaman
if they're
isn't
like
even,
they're yeah. I mean,
from a country.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's like kind of weird to like put that lens on the movie instead of using the movie as a lens to like look at real life.
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good point, Crystal.
Yeah, like just watch the movie, like put the fries in the bag.
Yeah.
You know?
So Here's the one that I actually think is kind of, this one has some validity to it. So basically, people felt like in this movie, and one of the biggest criticisms I heard about this movie is that Superman's kind of treated as a rag doll, where he gets easily knocked down, and basically he always needs someone to support him for him to win in these battles. So how do you guys actually feel about that? Because I think there is some validity to this one.
Yeah, I think I was kind of touching on it earlier where I think like there could have been more and better action, but I'm going to contradict myself also and say that I love to see an injured Superman. I love when he's knocked down. Again, it's like another gripe of like I would just want to see like more of it and like more of like him like getting back up each time. Like we got it like a little bit in the beginning where it's like no time, got to get back to the fray. And I love that. I love that. It's just like shows that what he's willing to do and how far he's willing to go and put his like body and at risk and just everything at risk, like himself bodily, before losing a single person.
Yeah, the
And I
issue,
think that's pretty cool.
right? The issue with writing a Superman story is he's too powerful. And so if you have a character who is too powerful that there's nothing that can hurt him, it just becomes boring. And so I think that it's important to have a story where Superman Clark Kent is able to be injured in one way or another. And so in this one, it was because he was fighting somebody with his own, like he was fighting a clone of himself that was like being controlled by a genius in Lex Luthor. And so that was the way that they were able to get around it. And I think it's important, it's important to have those kind of situations for a character like Superman.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that that's a controversy that he got ragdolled by this thing. I think we see in the, I don't know if you would call it like a beginning crawl or just like the opening prologue text, that this is the first time within like the 3 years since he's been active that he's lost. And so with that context, I think it's okay that we kind of like just skipped the whole 3 years of him just like, dog walking through any obstacle, and now we have something that is actually challenging him.
Yeah, and that crawler also like kind of points out that this is like a relatively like young and new Superman too, and like you have to think too, like I know it's all in the subtext, but like Superman has always been like untrained. Like who's he gonna spar with? Like maybe like his cousin, but she's never around. But like he's too strong to like train in any kind of like legitimate technical fight style. Like he's just always been kind of a berserker, and that's like not the most efficient way to fight. So yeah, like he's gonna face some challenges, and like that's where we're meeting him like in his life now.
Yeah, I think it made a lot of sense actually for Lex to be, because he's so smart. He created a pocket universe. Of course, he can analyze Clark's moves and then have a clone of himself who has the same power levels beat him. It makes sense. It just makes sense. If it didn't make sense, then yeah, it would be a problem.
Yeah, to go on to the point, I think the addressment is more like every kind of scene we see in a major fight, whether it's the kaiju, whether it's obviously the pocket monster, it's almost like we're always seeing him knocked down, and then it's always like he needs help from other people. So I think that's where...
That's not true. That's not true. The fight with the nanobot girl and Bizarro at the end, like he
got help from...
came
he
up.
got help. He did get help from what's it called, his dog at the end with that fight.
Yeah, but it's not like he. It was a strategy. It wasn't like he couldn't do it without him. Like he wasn't like almost about to die or something. He just knew like this was a better way. Like, oh, let's have Crypto take out the cameras while I fight him.
Yeah, and even the kaiju monster with the Justice Gang, like he probably could have totally killed that kaiju, but again, he didn't want to. So I think it's like there's always these little like conveniences and like things, but it's all for like kind of explaining his character for sure.
Yeah. So I actually want to get into this. Well, or I guess I want to explain my view on this whole thing, because I kind of feel the complaint about this, I feel like it's kind of this, I'm starting to see this kind of trend where it seems like people nowadays don't like people who are like super powerful getting like beat down, like You see this with Invincible, where it's like, oh, why is he named Invincible, but he always gets knocked down a lot? Or even with like Legend of Korra, where it's like Korra's supposed to be the Avatar, but yet she just gets knocked down. She's always dropped down. Like, what's going on? And it's like, it seems like the trend that people now want with superheroes is like they kind of want an horrifying hero where it's just like they're untouchable, where it's like, you know, Gojo from freaking Jujutsu Kaisen, or even Sakamoto from Sakamoto days, or even like the main
One Punch
character
Man.
from
Saitama.
One Punch Man, or even like the main
Saitama.
character from what's it called? Dang it, why am I forgetting this name? Solo Leveling. Like they want more of that aura farming, you know, Superman's badass. He just comes in, you know, you don't make Superman mad, and then he just stops it. And to some extent, I do think that to an element, Superman is known for being competent. And I did feel like there was a lack of competency towards his fighting ability. However, to go back to what you're saying, Crystal, and this is something that I feel like people were missing, was that a lot of this was going down to the fact, like whenever Superman was knocked out, a lot of it was in him. He was kind of in his head where he's like, oh man, I want to save somebody. And then when he goes and saves someone, that's like a shot that opens him up. So it's like, it's not that he's like weak. It's just more of that, just like, you know, if you watch
He's
Invincible,
thinking of collateral every time he gets into a fight,
yeah,
for
exactly.
sure.
So
Yeah.
that's holding him back. He's basically holding himself back, and that's where he's kind of getting knocked down.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about the whole scene. But I do
Yeah.
think it's interesting that we kind of now live in this new era where people want more of that kind of
People
aura
want-
farming hero.
Want they want peak, they don't want mid.
Yeah, exactly. And they're
I think-
tired of like, yeah.
Bruh.
But
What are you trying
that's
to
like
say,
the
Scott?
progression, man. That's like that's
I
what it is
agree.
to like
And he
make
was
progress.
peak for 3 years, so people, you know.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that we come to that kind of like, we're getting upset with superheroes like that. Like I found it funny, especially because
I want to be the anti version of that. We start the movement the other way, because like
yeah, I
that's-
definitely want to push it. But it's funny because the same people who hate that, they like people like Goku and Naruto, who are known for the struggle before they got good. But I don't know. I guess it's just, you know, I think maybe Jujutsu Kaisen has jaded their brains to think that you just need to have a peak character, and it's all about trying to see how peak the other character is, you know, challenge their peakness, as opposed to that growth to become.
I'm pretty sure these people are just young teenage boys or something that only care about power levels or something.
They're Snyder cultists.
Snyder cultists, for sure. That could be a possible thing to go in. But I guess the next one, and this is something you wanted to talk about, Crystal, is the whole his father telling him that, you know what, your destiny here was to conquer the world and have a bunch of harems and start a family with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So how do we feel about this? Because a lot of people hated this spin to Superman.
It took me a second, honestly, and I still like don't really know how I feel about it. Like I haven't even fully processed it, because it's like Krypton is a big part of like certain comics and stories, and it's like you can't really separate his Kryptonian background from his life, but it feels almost like we're getting like we are cutting off that part of his background. I feel like they confirmed, like people are saying, oh, like it can't be true, like Lex is lying, but like they kind of confirmed like 3 times that it's real. Like even Mr. Terrific, he's like this, he said they're the smartest individual, like he confirmed, like yeah, like it has to be real, Clark, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's just like, it feels like we're closing the door on that. We're closing the book, if you will. And I'm hoping I'm wrong, because I know we are getting another like Kryptonian film. We're gonna get, you know, Supergirl soon.
Right.
And I'm hoping we can still like dive into that, because that's a huge plot hole for me. Like how could Kara, you know, how could Kara not know that was like Kryptonian culture? You
Yeah,
know, like
like-
why would she not share that with Clark? Like why didn't he ask her when he saw her?
Exactly.
Mhm.
That's
That's
what I was wondering.
Like-
Really weird.
That's
Right.
fair.
And I don't like that
Like,
part of this.
yeah.
And I also yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Canonically, Kara is older than Clark, with the whole timey-wimey stuff. So she was a cognizant like person when she was
She was like a teenager when
sent.
Krypton.
Yeah, when Krypton got destroyed,
A
and she
young
was
teen.
sent back or
Mhm.
sent away. So she would know what the whole issue is. Now, I haven't read, and I'm sure there might be some clue as to what the direction is in terms of like the Kryptonian history that James Gunn is trying to weave into this whole story. But we know that based on the subject material for Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, that character is kind of in this depressive state after having like having to come to terms with her entire culture that she did know being wiped off the face of the world or whatever. And so she is depressed, and so she's kind of like, that's why she's like drinking drunk and gets, you know, parties and all that stuff. That's kind of like what that stems from. And so I'm curious if that might have anything to do with why she doesn't have she hasn't like acted on those intentions from the people back on Krypton of like, you are going here to kind of take over and to
Well,
you know, destroy and like recreate Krypton in your own image, blah blah blah.
it,
And so
it could
yeah.
also just be a message to Clark. It doesn't necessarily have to be
I
the
think-
whole culture.
I think
That's another thing.
the weird thing is that it having it be just a
she's-
message to Clark, like they don't live in isolation. Like they live within a context of a greater society to where this would be the message that they are sending. And I don't want to, and again I've said like I'm trying to avoid making comparisons to Man of Steel, but the way that they played with his parents, like the Kryptonian parents' motivation and their intention for Clark, was very interesting when you kind of compare it to how James Gunn does it in this film. Because we get a lot of time with Jor-El in Man of Steel, and we see the Society of Krypton, and we get that the story starts there, and we kind of get that world built out. And so we understand the kind of person that Jor-El is and why he would send his son to Earth, not to conquer Earth, but to kind of be a beacon of light and hope for the planet, because he already, the way that he sees Krypton, it's like we had our chance to live and we squandered it, because he's this
Right.
philanthropic scientist who's trying to help, but like everybody, the power structure within Krypton was tampered, like was just worried about other
Right.
things, and so they squander their ability to survive. And so he's sending his son to this world to kind of be a guiding light and to almost be like a protection against what happened on his world. And so we get the motivations. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like what James Gunn is playing into, what everyone expects from it, right? And that's why it's so surprising that
Right.
it's different.
Because now
I personally don't mind it,
yeah,
because I feel like it's refreshing in a way to have like a different history for like his parents' message, and then him defying it rather than, you know, going through with it.
yeah.
It adds more
This-
interest to a different version of Superman. They don't
It's-
all have to be the same, you know?
Right.
It's
right.
like for
And-
the people that hate seeing Uncle Ben die in the Spider-Man films. Like this is for
Yeah.
those people.
And I think
And
the way,
yeah.
and I think
Go
the way that it has the difference with this version of his parents' message, it speaks to the context of the world, like the Kryptonian world that he comes from. Like I think we're gonna get that, because part of my hope is that we get a Brainiac in this universe, and so hopefully with that we might get like a Kryptonian city, and we might, you know, get some play in with that. But yeah, no, it's definitely, there's a lot of room to play if you have like a Kryptonian history that's a little bit more negative, that he's kind of trying to move away from, as opposed to something that is bolstering him in his mission.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting choice. I personally prefer when like Clark has like a curiosity about his roots, and you know, I think it's fun. I mean, I loved some of my favorite parts of Man of Steel were those parts on Krypton, and that lore building. And like now it feels like with the decision that we've like dismissed that, and so it's just like a little jarring, because I think that the Kryptonian lore was really interesting and can be like a really fun thing to play with. But it just
They still
the
could. With
they
the
still
Supergirl
could,
movie.
they still could. It's just like it's definitely in a negative light right now, and I'm hoping that they don't keep it that way. I hope it's but it's maybe Krypton is just like this world, imperfect, but there's like good
Yeah.
that comes with the bad. Maybe that's
Yeah.
something that they're
Exactly.
heading
Yeah.
towards.
Yeah.
So
I
that would
think
be interesting to see. We'll see.
Yeah, I think they're comparing it to, like, now they're saying Superman's a Viltrumite, where it's like he's somewhere to conquer.
I know. I'm not
and
gonna
stuff
lie. I
like
did
that.
think of that.
That's how it felt. So people felt about that. Personally, to me, I'm not like I'm keeping an open mind to it because, again, number one, again, we don't, because I think most people are stereotyping this, right? They're viewing it as, oh, all Kryptonians are these, like, again, Viltrumites where they want to conquer and stuff. And I think that there could be, maybe this could be just like Clark's parents, because I know there's been stories, because I've heard there's this story hasn't this is they've done this story thread before, like even Smallville had this kind of story element to it, from my understanding. So, like, there has been this story thread before about his parents wanting him to conquer, and I think, what from my understanding, was that in that story thread, that was more where it was just his parents and it wasn't the whole Kryptonite or the Kryptons. It was his parents with General Zod. I think that was the one where
Zod.
it's like Zod. Yeah, Zod knew because Zod knew it was his father, from my
Yeah.
understanding, and that they were like. So there's a story where him and his father were kind of working together, kind of thing. So for all we care, this could just be his parents' viewpoint, and the fact
Exactly.
that he says no to it goes back to, like, you're not your parents, you who you are. So
Yeah.
that's just my take on the situation. That I can understand why people are upset about it, but at the same time, there could be a different. We
Yeah.
gotta be open to possibilities. Like, as long as
Questions,
Clark is not
questions.
destroying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of questions. My biggest still being like, what is Kara's stance on this? Like, it's
Yeah,
just like
that's
kind of
another
strange to
question.
me. That was kind of like,
Yeah.
it was a cute after credit, but it's not like we had time to he had time to sit down with her, but
Yeah,
like
and
it was
tell
kind
her.
of glossed over.
Yeah, that was my big problem. Where it's like, why
Yeah.
didn't he go up and be like, "Yo, by the way, did you know that my parents wanted me to?" And another question I
And
guess
then
I
she'd
have
be
with
like,
it.
"Yeah, Clark, that's normal." Like,
Yeah, but I guess my other question is, doesn't Superman normally in this universe? I'm pretty sure Superman has played his parents' message before. So why did he not hear it until then, at that moment?
because it was it was damaged, but he had really smart people on his team that were able to recover it.
For sure, man. Lex is more smart than these freaking Kryptonian robots.
I
that
know,
Clark has. Whatever.
Kryptonian scientist. Yeah, hey.
Well, it was the
It could be a
nano
convenience.
cyborg girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the last one, and I think we kind of went over this, but I guess to be more aware of it, did we feel like the people were complaining that the comedy destroyed a lot of severity of the drama? I mean, did we feel like this was too funny and that we didn't really have much heartful moments?
No,
of the
I didn't think it was
story,
that funny.
Yeah, I don't think that's
I
Personally,
think
I
it
agree.
could have been funnier.
legitimate criticism. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
don't think so. I think that they gave comedic moments to the right characters. Like Nathan Fillion made his moments funny in the right way that they needed to be. And other than that, I don't know if any of the other characters were particularly funny. Maybe Lex had a couple funny moments, just like in his throwing the pencils at people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
even
Or the-
Mr. Terrific had some great one-liners that had
Yeah.
comedic timing.
Like
Even
mushing the
David
dude's
Cornsweet.
face. Yeah.
I think my real one of my genuine laughs came from the argument with Lois and him fidgeting with the little recorder. I thought his timing and his ingenuity in that moment was really clever and funny. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then to add on to Lex, the fact that he puts his girlfriend in a freaking different universe for doing something petty, I thought that was very
That's
interesting.
satire.
Or even the monkeys, which is
Oh,
it's
yeah.
still humor.
Yeah.
So
Monkeys
I
are the
think-
best.
Yeah.
monkeys are the best. So
Crypto was funny
Yeah. He could have
Yeah,
used
so,
AI
again-
by being chaotic.
agents to write Twitter.
But he
Instead,
chose to
he
use the monkeys.
chose to clone a bunch of
Used.
monkeys and brainwash all of them in a pocket universe.
yeah. So that was good. And I kind of like when Crypto came in to help, and it was kind of funny with him just beating up Lex, because it's like you beat, like, Lex kidnapped me, so it's like, get my revenge. So I
Yeah.
thought that was a pretty nice thing to it. But
Yeah.
like I said before, I feel like out of all the James Gunn's movies I've seen, this one was the less funniest, which was great.
Yeah. No, I
I don't
agree.
know where people are saying that. Like, I didn't feel like that. I feel like a lot of the drama, like the part when he's in the jail and he sees his friend get destroyed, like that wasn't like, there was no joke after that. It was just completely, this was sad. Clark was upset. The other guy was upset about it too. So I feel like, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I think people may be a little bit, I guess, maybe they just don't like James Gunn. I think this is one of those films. If you don't like James Gunn, you're not gonna enjoy this film. I think that's kind of what it comes down to.
I think people just like to
James-
complain. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
I wouldn't
true.
agree with that. I think their general audiences probably have a lot to enjoy from the film, and without even knowing who the F James Gunn is,
Yeah,
But
yeah, for sure.
but yeah,
But
no. But if you're saying like if you were like someone who specifically does not like James Gunn style, you might not enjoy it.
yeah,
That
yeah,
has some,
exactly.
maybe that'll have
Yeah,
some truth to
'cause
it.
even with the fact that it wasn't that funny, people just, maybe they hear one joke and they already go, oh, that's James Gunn. He does all this thing, and they're already running with that
Yeah.
as opposed to seeing the movie for what it is.
Trying to
So-
validate their own biases.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.